And it is time for our Community Corner, sponsored by Scandinavian Designs. Learning about history in a book is great, but sometimes being able to experience it for yourself is so much more memorable. And that is exactly what the Warhawk Air Museum looks to do. So we're joined today by Sue, Paul, and Carson as well. You are now the new executive director, taking over for Sue after 35 years, huh?
Yes, 35 years.
That's exciting.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes.
We founded the museum in 1989 in a small little building, and today it's 40,000 square feet, and we're adding a third wing that will be an additional 40,000 square feet.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah.
So quite the growth over the decades.
Quite the growth, yes. Far beyond anything my husband and I ever imagined.
And why did you decide to found the Warhawk Air Museum?
Because when we moved here with our World War II airplanes as hobbies, we had so much attention from the people in the valley, and pretty soon people were just dropping their memorabilia at the hangar, at the door, and saying, here, I don't want it, do what you want, medals, uniforms, etc. And it was so overwhelming to us that we realized we had to create a nonprofit museum for these historical pieces of personal history to be preserved with honor. It represented our country, our veterans, and so that's why we founded it.
So it all just kind of started itself, if you will.
It started itself, and it still runs itself.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean, really, the museum is its own spirit. It's completely made up of personal stories.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Telling their experiences.
I've had the pleasure and honor of going a couple of times to tell some stories of some of the veterans to cover the certain decades of different wars and experiences that many of our community have been a part of, and generations been a part of, and it does have a spirit of itself when you walk in, and not just when you walk into the museum, but as you journey through the museum into each exhibit and time period and era, right? And then you kind of start to reflect too on your family's history and involvement, and it's such a personal experience when you go into the Warhawk Air Museum.
It is, and you leave that way. We have, I mean, our patrons that come through the museum are not shy at all about telling us, and many times with tears in their eyes, this was the most incredible experience I've ever had. Because the museum isn't telling a story about anything. We're providing a hollow, honorable spot, a place, a building for people to preserve their own personal histories. So it's a very truthful museum.
That's very true. Yeah, I'm so glad you said truthful, because I went there with one of my coworkers at the time we were shooting. His name's Alex Hahn, and his grandfather has an exhibit in there with his memorabilia, and it was just so meaningful just to see that and watch Alex experience that as well. So it is very personal. Now, Carson, you've got to be super excited to be filling such big shoes here, right?
Yeah. So excited and such an honor, and just what Sue said, it is a sacred place, and I'm a veteran myself, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, barely made it out of Iraq in one piece, and through my connections in the community with Mission 43, another great veterans organization, I met Sue and John Paul and the team out at the Warhawk, and ended up getting my dream job. And now I get to be a part of honoring veterans and educating our guests on the sacrifice that they gave to our country. And the museum's on such a great trajectory right now with, as Sue mentioned, the new post 9/11 wing. We're hoping to have you guys out for a groundbreaking ceremony in late summer, early fall, and in partnership with the airport. We're just really excited to honor Iraq and Afghanistan veterans in our country's longest war, the global war on terror.
And tell me about the rewarding part, because I know it's a big question to ask, but for you, Sue, having served and built this over 35 years, and you, Carson, for now stepping into this role and having the honor of moving this forward with the expansion, with the new wing, how does that make you feel?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'm also very relieved, frankly. We are ready to have a young, new executive director to take us forward into the future now. I mean, my husband and I brought us from the beginning 35 years ago to where we are today, and now we are ready to go into really the final expansion, because it will take in the post 9/11 all of the wars then, and all of the men and women who served in that. So it's very exciting. Everyone at the museum is excited, and You know, so that's how I feel. I've just
If you haven't been, you got to go. We are a nonprofit, so fully based off donations, and it's really a World War II, Korea, Vietnam vibe out there now. But this new hangar, we want it to be very technologically advanced and interactive, and that's the museum's mission, is education. So we know there's a lot of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans in Idaho, and so we really want a place to honor them as well. And super excited about it.
Well, and even the event that we're having this weekend is educational. Everything that we do at the museum is educating our visitors about the price of freedom and honoring those folks, those men and women.
And tell us about that event here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Warbird Roundup, it's our 21st annual, and there's going to be World War II vintage aircraft, as you can see there, coming from across the country with some amazing pilots, and guests will get to see the aircraft up close in static displays, and 2 different times flying in the morning and the afternoon, and Sue will be sharing the history of all these cool airplanes, and so you can really learn and consume a lot of information about our history. We have a guest speaker, food trucks, the SWAT team, Mission 43 and other military and veteran agencies. It's just going to be a great patriotic event.
Great music. We play music the whole time too, and I emceed the whole thing all day. Our guest speaker is Bob Carden this year, and he was the project manager that brought the Glacier Girl P-38 up out of the ice.
Wow!
So he is the one that his show will show the entire, you know, the effort, that whole project on the ice when they brought it up. It's going to be great. So that's Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
The show is Saturday and Sunday. The gates open at 8:30. The show will probably, and then we'll begin right away at 10 o'clock with flights, and the presentation will be about 12:30. Then we fly again in the afternoon, and then the museum will stay open until 5.
Exciting. Okay, so if people want more information, where do they go?
warhawkairmuseum.org. Please
Wonderful.
and thank you.
Both of you, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Everyone, stick around. More to come right here on Idaho Today, right after the break.